So, gents, as we mentioned in part one, as it stands right now, as we record this, Seattle and Detroit are both 2.5 games out of the final wild card spot, who Houston would host in the opening wild card series of the postseason. So, looking at those three teams against Seattle, Houston is 4-6 with 3 remaining in the final homestand of the season. Against the Twins, they are 2-4. Against the Tigers, they are 4-2 with a couple of blowouts swapped between them, a 9-3 win and a 13-5 loss. At this point, who do you think is the ideal wild card opponent between the Twins, Tigers, or Seattle?
Imagine if we were having this very conversation a year ago, where it's not just that the fans or observers were spooked by the Astros' pathetic play at home. They were pathetic at home. So we'd be saying, well, blow the division, but thread the needle. Make sure you get that last wild card spot. But winning the division, when the best of 3, you're the home team in all the games, as well as them, of course, being in your own ballpark. I really think it's careful what you ask for. Just deal the cards, and you're the Astros, you play the hand. The regular season outcomes mean nothing because a 3-game series against Detroit in June, the composition of the ball clubs, who's playing how at what given point in time, how the rotations align at one given point in time. So if the Astros had gone 6-0 or 7-0 against a team they faced in a best of 3, it doesn't mean, oh, they got the cushy draw. Just as, oh no, they went 1-6 or 1-5. They're doomed. No. It's a best out of 3. That's it. Detroit, it would be concerning because the runaway Cy Young Award winner is Tarek Skubal. Now, the Tigers are going to swipe the last wild card spot. They're going to have to play to the very finish. How does their rotation align the last week? If Skubal pitches one of the last 3 games of the season, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, he's out until pitching at least game 2. Well, you know there's going to be a game 2. Right? If Skubal's not available until a decisive game 3, if you get to that game 3, gulp, but maybe you render it moot by winning the first 2 games. But since the All-Star break, going into this week, the Astros very narrowly the best record in the American League, Tigers second. Their offense has improved significantly the second half of the season. The overall is still a very well below average offense. But with Skubal, right, that's the one specific guy that I don't care if you're pitching Fromber or Hunter Brown, Skubal's had a better season. So you'd presumably have to deal with him in one of those games. Minnesota doesn't have that ace hammer, but Pablo Lopez, after a lousy first half, has come on big time. Remember, Lopez is the guy who dominated the Astros and the Twins 1 win in the best of 5 last season. But what Minnesota has over Detroit, over Seattle, over Houston is a top-to-bottom superior lineup. X factor for the Astros, getting Kyle Tucker back with time to both produce and hit full stride. The Twins finally got Carlos Correa back over the weekend after having not played since the All-Star break because of plantar fasciitis. That Twins lineup, if Correa is right, Byron Buxton for now is healthy. Royce Lewis for now is healthy. And above and below those guys in the lineup, that Twins lineup, it is deep and dangerous. And again, while the results don't mean anything for a best of 3, right? The Twins came here, took 2 out of 3. The Twins took 2 out of 3 over there. They're very good. They also have Duran at the back of their bullpen. So I don't see it as an edge one way or the other. Seattle has the feeble lineup, but Julio Rodriguez has strung together some big hits in the last few days. And we know the Mariners have the best rotation. Well, the value of rotation depth is diminished in a best of 3, but they'll take a couple of those starters and fortify their bullpen by moving the 4 and 5 starters, whether it's a Brian Wu or a Logan Gilbert into the bullpen, pending the health of Luis Castillo. So I would not say, if I'm an Astros fan, oh, I hope we get that team, unless it's a particular team you get extra jollies out of beating.
Yeah, for me, it's interesting. We think of the Mariners as being this great pitching team, which they are, but the bats are coming around for the Mariners. Last 30 days, they are 6th in OPS in all of baseball. You go to last 15 days, they're 2nd. The Astros are 5th in that time span. I'm just kind of a guy, how are you playing right now as the season's coming to an end? How are these teams playing right now? It worries me that Seattle's hitting better than any of us expected, at least in this small sample size. So when I look at who's playing the best over the last month of the season, who's playing the worst, The Twins are playing the worst. They have 4.97 ERA, team ERA over the last 30 days. Tigers are second at a 2.62. Mariners are sixth at a 3.51. And then I look at hitting, OPS. Like I mentioned, Mariners are sixth in OPS over the last month. Astros are seventh. But then you look at the Tigers, they're 10th. That kind of worries you. The Twins all the way down at 21st in OPS over the last month. Charlie mentioned Carlos Correa coming back. Sure, that can make a difference there. No doubt about it. But just as we're looking at how these teams are playing lately, and also the Twins, 4-6 in their last 10 games. They haven't been playing great. So based on these numbers, I feel like even though the Twins have that great lineup Charlie mentioned, they're as a team, they're not clicking on all cylinders right now.
If somehow the Astros had to lose all their offensive players and they had to go into the playoff series with one of the other team's lineups, in order of drafting them, I would want to have the Twins lineup first, the Mariners lineup second, the Tigers lineup third. I guess we shouldn't completely eliminate the Red Sox, but they need a whole lot of stuff happen if they're to sneak in and snag that last wild card. Pitching staffs, I'd want Seattle's first, Detroit second, Minnesota third.
Yeah, look, and I'll tell you who I don't want to face. I'm not interested in seeing Randy Arozarena in the postseason. Some guys just have your number. Ty France, anyone? I just don't see how Houston would want to see that guy in a postseason matchup. Records be damned. That I definitely would not want to see Seattle just because they definitely have an axe to grind against Houston. We'll see how that final series of the season plays out here in Houston. Charlie, you said based on performance, Justin Verlander should not make this playoff roster. So that being the case, I think we know who the Astros 1 and 2 starters would be, with it being Fromber and Brown 1-2. So who does make that third start for Houston in a best of 3?
Do the Astros have something to play for in Cleveland the last weekend of the season? Are they close enough that could they sweep the Guardians? That should impact who the Astros use as a starting pitcher, right? The best of 3 is Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So if right down to the last day of the season, you're still fighting to catch Cleveland or hold off Seattle, your Sunday starter is out of the wild card series and hence doesn't even make your roster, right? You'd have 3 days rest. I guess you might keep him as a bullpen possibility on 3 days rest in game 3. But how do they line up? The Astros certainly will structure it so Fromber and Hunter Brown, whichever order, 1-2, and I presume they'll want them in that order. Fromber 1, Hunter Brown 2. But the hypothetical game 3, who is more on turn? Kikuchi, Arrighetti. I think Arrighetti has to have 2 solid starts, otherwise it tilts Kikuchi. The one possible postseason opponent that has just bludgeoned left-handed pitching this year is Cleveland. Well, unless the Guardians spit up the Central, the Astros aren't going to face Cleveland in that first round. So I think the Astros will look at the matchups. It will be at Minute Maid Park. Right? Kikuchi can give up the occasional home run ball, but he's certainly been the steadier pitcher than Arrighetti. And I don't think we completely dismiss the idea that have not used in relief in games 1 or 2. And Ronel Blanco makes 2 more stout starts that he isn't back in the picture to be a game 3 starter, and certainly in the Astros rotation as an option going beyond that if they're back in the division series and so forth.
Yeah, I mean, Blanco's that guy where he was your best starter up until the All-Star break, basically. I mean, he was terrific. There was talk of him not only being on the team, but arguments that maybe he should start. He was that good. But, one half a season doesn't make it all for you in baseball. They usually make you do it a couple times before you make the All-Star team. But I think Arrighetti is just so wildly good and sometimes wildly bad. He doesn't have the postseason experience. So I feel like Kikuchi's a little more steady. Now, he's only had 1 postseason appearance. It was last year in relief. I think he pitched like an inning, a third or something like that, gave up a run. So it's not a big resume that Kikuchi brings, but he's been in the big league longer. I just think the experience, I think I'd lean on him a little more than Arrighetti. I like what Blanco has, but obviously he's a guy that this has kind of come out of nowhere for him. So I think if we're not just talking about matchups, we're just talking about who do you feel the most comfortable with. I think it'd be Kikuchi right now. He has, the blazing fastball, the slider's been great for him, the changeup. I just think if I had to pick today, I would probably feel the best putting Kikuchi out there.
And just one example of the kind of thing the Astros can look into: the platoon advantage within a game. If you're facing a lineup that the preponderance of their better hitters are right-handed hitters, and you want to start the righty, well, you have a lefty available. And if you're facing a manager who's apt to pinch hit in the middle innings and use up some of the bench, you can go from Kikuchi lefty starter to a righty, whether it's Blanco, Arrighetti, whoever's in that bullpen. And obviously vice versa, start the righty and then have Kikuchi available as that early guy. And we'll see, right? Ideal world for the Astros, the starters are going 6-7 innings and you're getting straight to Abreu, Presley, Hader territory. But, if you're going to that pen, 4th, 5th, 6th innings, and how often do you see managers, because of the extra arms they have in their bullpen, strategically they attack the games differently? But if you're in that 5th, 6th inning, are you going to go to a starter ahead of a Taylor Scott, who definitely has trended down over the last month? All right, Caleb Ort's done some real nice work, but we're talking 20, 25 innings. How will you prioritize and value who you use in the bridge innings from the starter to the late game guys?
Give me, guys, your final thoughts on what you want to see from Houston in these last dozen or so games of the season.
Just avoid falling apart, and they're in. And I guess concurrently, hope Cleveland falls apart to give the Astros a shot in that final 3-game series. Allow me to color outside the lines for 1 minute. But the Astros-Padres series, fascinating on a whole bunch of levels because, well, there are 2 teams that could win the World Series. But the Padres, best team in baseball since the All-Star break, right? They're going as a wild card in the National League. This is a team that traded Juan Soto, lost the Cy Young Award winner, Blake Snell, for nothing. Right now, the Cy Young runner-up in the American League would probably be Seth Lugo of the Royals. He was really good for the Padres last year. Their 3rd best starter last year was Michael Wacha. He's now also with the Royals. Their closer, Josh Hader, left. They got nothing. Future draft pick, right? Hader, obviously, with the Astros. Fernando Tatis has missed more than 50 games injured this season. And here the Padres are. Remarkable, remarkable story, especially in the stacked National League West. Astros just keep surfing the wave. They don't need to do anything unusual, just avoid a free fall and the Mariners going wild in the right way. And then not so much this week, but next week, how the Astros line it up. So Fromber's available for game 1, Hunter Brown's available for game 2, and then we'll again talk about who you use on Thursday if it's 1 game, winner takes all, loser goes home.
For me, it's just about getting your big players ready for these huge games. I want to see Kyle Tucker continue to play more often. Let's see him get to the point where he's starting day after day in the outfield. Everything's looking good. Hopefully Altuve, it was just a scare. He's fine. It's been so long. Tucker's missed so much time, and now we've had other injuries with Chaz, and he's had a terrible year. It'd be nice if all the guys kind of at the right time here at the end of the season get healthy, start getting in the swing, like really start getting hot. That's what I'm going to be looking for. And the bullpen, can they keep doing what they need to do? Can Josh Hader not give up what seems like a home run every other game, even though he's not costing them games? It still is a little concerning that it seems to be so easy to take him deep. I think Neris is going to prove to be a really big pickup, and hopefully Presley can keep things going. If you get the back of that bullpen, the starting pitching, and Tucker and Yordan start getting hot, Pena, can he be postseason Pena from a couple of years ago? That's what I'm going to have my eye on as we watch these last stretch of games and into the postseason, hopefully.
Yeah, that's what you mentioned it. You hit it right on the head. That's one of my things I'd like to see is Jeremy Pena start to put it together in these final couple of weeks. Obviously, his 2022 exploits are well known, but he can be such a big difference maker for this team. I'd also like to see this team clean up their defense. That would be a nice thing to do. Get it, before in the postseason, started playing cleaner defense, and then first and foremost, stay healthy. This team absolutely just needs to stay healthy and for Alex Bregman to get healthy prior to the postseason. That's going to be it for this episode of Stone Cold Stros. If you listen on podcast on places like Apple or Spotify and you enjoy the show, please be sure to give us a 5-star rating. Charlie, Josh, and I will catch you next week, but you don't have to wait that long to get used to Sports Fix. All you have to do is subscribe to this channel, Sports Map Houston and Sports Map Texans on YouTube, and we'll have more content for you during the week, including a preview of Vikings Texans that will drop on Thursday. Thanks for listening. Until next time, go Stros.